guys, welcome back to my channel. So usually after I do like a mock meet or meet, I have a week of lifting where I can just basically do whatever I want under RP6, basically a self-deload week. I thought it was a great opportunity to do more of a bodybuilding style video since I did less SPD work this week. Yesterday for my workout, I tried to hit every single muscle group in one single workout. And spoiler, I didn't actually hit every single muscle group since I didn't want to spend forever at the gym, but I am going to talk about every single muscle group in this video and like first of all go over the muscle groups that you train, and second, go over my favorite exercises for each muscle group. And just disclaimer, these are my favorite exercises because they work on my weaknesses and I feel more comfortable doing them. They're not the only exercises for these muscle groups. There are a bunch of exercises, but some of them I would say are better than others. And I'll talk about the reasons why. But yeah, full body workout and favorite movement for each muscle group. Okay, so before we get started with the actual exercises, I'm first gonna go over every single muscle group. I'm too lazy to like go search and put pictures up, so I'm just gonna point and demonstrate. And also I'm just using the most popular term for each muscle group, not necessarily the scientific term or like the slang term or whatever, just whatever most people call them. So from head to toe, first you have your neck muscles, which I don't train, but some guys like to train neck for a thick neck because apparently if your neck is thick, you look big. So first of all, you have your neck, which I didn't train, and then you have your traps, which are these muscles right here, like on your back. So you see this bulge out when like you do deadlifts or especially rack pulls. It's a upper body pull muscle, and also this is like where you put the bar when you do squats. And then next you have your chest muscle, so you have like upper chest, and then this is like your main chest. You have your shoulders right here, and then you have your biceps, which is right here. On the other side you have your triceps, and then you have your forearms, which is just like the front part of your arm. And then for your back, you have your upper back, and then you have your back or your lats, and then you have your lower back right here, and then you have your abs right here. You have upper and lower abs. So your lower back and your abs are in the same place. Lats and chest are in the same height. And then you have your glutes, and then you have your quads, which is the front part of your leg, your hamstrings, which is the back part of your leg, and then you have your calves, and that's pretty much it. So those are like the main muscle groups of your body that you specifically train. Also, some exercises are more isolation movements versus some exercises are more compound movements. So some just like target one muscle group specifically and you barely use any other muscle groups, while some other exercises use multiple muscle groups. So there's a range. So for example, squat, bench, and deadlift are compound movements. Even though there is a muscle group that you use the most for them, you use a whole bunch of muscle groups for that exercise. And usually the more isolating the exercise gets, it's more like seated or like you're on a machine instead of like just you and the barbell. An exercise in the middle would be like lat pull downs, for example, because you train your back but you also use your biceps kind of. And then a isolation movement, for example, would be quad extensions, because you only use your quads and nothing else in the exercise, mainly because you're seated and you're like stuck in the same position and you're only moving your leg. So yeah, that's like the range of exercises. There are some muscle groups that prefer to do more compound-ish movements, while some muscles I prefer to do more isolation movements, and I'll talk about them when I get to the exercise. And lastly, before we get onto the exercises, the order I am putting these exercises in is not necessarily from head to toe. I'm putting them in the exercise of most important to least important, or the order you would do them in a workout. So usually we do more compound movements and then we move to isolation movements, or bigger muscle groups to smaller muscle groups. So usually I start with SPD work and then end with tricep, bicep, calves, these less important or smaller muscles. So that is the order that I'm going to present these exercises in, so you guys know what order I would do these exercises in, basically. So yeah, let's get started. Okay, so first off, I gotta start with some SPD powerlifting movements. So first we have squats. Depending on whether you high bar or low bar squat or even front squat, you train your quads, your glutes, your hamstrings, your lower back, your spine, basically your whole body. Like honestly, I could just end the video here and say this is a whole body workout, because squats really do train your whole body. Like your upper body, your upper back has to be really tight, but squat generally is a lower body push movement. I low bar squat, so that mainly trains my lower back, my glutes, and my quads, and a tiny bit of hamstrings. And of course, you also use calves in squatting. Next, we have the famous bench press, also a powerlifting movement. Bench is a upper body push movement. So at the bottom part of your bench press, it's mostly your chest muscles working. At lockout, it's mostly your triceps. And then you also work your shoulders a little bit, which you should use your shoulders a little bit because it's a muscle that you can use. But of course, you don't want any shoulder pain with bench pressing. So that's why you should arch your back when you bench press. That is the correct way to bench because then you put your shoulders in a really safe place and you won't injure your shoulders. Also, you use your legs when you bench press because you should use leg drive when you bench. That way you stay super tight. And if you guys want to know more about the correct way to bench from a powerlifter, check out my how to bench press video. Also, I have how to squat and how to deadlift videos all in my how to start powerlifting series. So definitely go check that out if you guys are interested. Also, I really like doing long pause benches because that first of all works out my pause and also works out my sticking point, which is on the chest. And then next we have the famous deadlift. And this is the exercise I started my workout yesterday. But I just wanted to include squat and bench because they are super important exercises and work out so many muscles. So for deadlifts, I do conventional deadlifts, so it mainly works my hamstrings, glutes, and my lower back. They do work my traps a little bit and a little bit of quads at the top. And deadlift is a lower body pull movement. For a sumo deadlift, it's mostly glutes and quads and hamstrings and lower back. Also, it depends on your leverages as well. Like, depending on your leverages, you might use a muscle group more than another muscle group. And then I also like doing pause deadlifts. It's really good for my sticking point. So for my actually full body workout yesterday, I started with deadlifts. And then next I did some lat pull downs. So I usually use the other bar, but someone else was using it, so this is what I used. But lat pull down is my favorite vertical lat movement. I usually do 3 sets, and every set I change my hand positioning. So I do the hardest one, which is a wide grip, about how wide I bench press. And then for my second set, I do the most comfortable still overhand grip. And then for my last set, I do a underhand grip, which is more like a chin up. Different hand positionings do trade a different part of your back. So that's why it's important to not use the same hand positioning for all 3 sets. Yesterday was just a deload day, so I only did 2 sets. And also I did everything to RP 67, so that's why these sets don't look hard. I'm not supposed to add on fatigue yesterday, but you should train to RP 8-ish for accessory movements. And then next I did single leg RDLs. This is my favorite hamstring movement. The reason why I like single leg RDLs is because first of all, they're not really fatiguing, but they still do really kill my hamstrings every single time. And also it works on my balance a lot since I'm flat-footed and I need to work on my balance. So I like holding dumbbells with only one hand, the side that I'm lifting my feet. Don't feel like you're actually holding the dumbbell. Feel like your arm is like a rope hanging off of your body. And then also your upper body and the leg that lifts up should be in the same plane. There shouldn't be any bending in your hips on that leg. And for the standing leg, you bend your knees slightly. And when I go down a rep, I like to go a little bit slower than usual to control the eccentric and actually feel like my hamstrings are pulling and increasing elasticity. Another great hamstring movement that I like doing that I didn't do yesterday but I wanted to include is barbell RDLs. So I actually do stand on a platform so I have more range of motion. I want to include this because this is a great trap exercise. Every single time I do barbell RDLs, my traps get super sore because I'm holding onto the weight for like 45 seconds, which definitely do work out your traps. And also I can load them pretty heavy and they translate well to conventional deadlifting. On these, I also do a slower eccentric, and then on the way up, I go as fast as I can. But this is also a great hamstring movement. Also works out your glutes and your traps and your lower back. But I'm taking this out for my next block because this does add on a lot of fatigue to my week, especially since I do this after deadlifting. So it's like deadlifts, which kills me, and then I do this, which also kills me. So that's just too much fatigue for me. You can see I died after that set, but there's still a really good exercise for people who don't necessarily deadlift really intensely. And next I did some dumbbell overhead press. Dumbbell overhead press is by far my favorite shoulder movement. First of all, because I can press so much weight, way more than my barbell overhead press. When I do barbell overhead press, it feels super awkward because like the bar has to pass your head and not hit your chin and also not hit your nose. So I just don't like doing barbell overhead press. I also like leaning my upper back on a chair because that gives me more stability and also helps me focus more on my shoulders instead of making it more a compound movement. Next, I did some single leg extensions, and this only works your quads because it's an isolation movement. And the reason why I'm doing each leg on its own is because that fixes my imbalances. So in the past, my left quad would be so much weaker than my right. and I fix it by doing single leg quad extensions. What I always do is I start with my weaker leg. So I start with my left leg, and then I do however many reps to like RP8 for example, and then I do the same amount of reps for my right leg. So in the beginning, like when my left leg hit RP9 for example at rep 8, and then I do 8 reps on my right leg, it would be like at RP6, which clearly there was a difference between my legs. But by doing single leg extensions, it fixed my imbalances. So yeah, when I started doing single leg extensions, I had a little bit of knee pain, but you just have to find your position where you don't have knee pain. The reason why you get knee pain is because the part where your knee bends has to exactly match the pivot point of the machine. So that's why you just have to shift around and find where you don't have pain. Also, I really like single leg extensions because first of all, it helped me learn how to flex my quads and have that mind muscle connection with my quads. And second, quad extensions is the exercise where you can really push your limits. So especially when you start doing this, you might feel like you hit RP8, but you could probably do 10 more reps. Like, I'm being serious. A lot of times on this exercise, you think you hit your max, like you think you hit a certain RPE, but actually you could do so much more. So that's why going to failure on this exercise is really good. Really teaches you where your limit is instead of where you think it is, which is usually so much lower than where it really is. So yeah, one of my favorite exercises. And then next for my horizontal back movement, single arm cable rows. I did this on another day. So I like to grab my body so I don't move around a lot. This is a horizontal row, so if it works on making your back more thick, instead of how like vertical rows makes your back more wide. Of course they do both, but like generally horizontal rows work on back thickness. And next we have triceps, and this is single arm tricep pushdowns. I like doing single arm because first of all it works on my imbalances. Also my hands are in a more comfortable position because my forearms are turned out a little bit. Doing single arm helps me move the cable to the side of my body instead of the front of my body. And also I like to pause at the extension and slowly let it go back. So I'm controlling the whole rep. And same thing with any other single arm or leg exercise. You want to start with your weaker hand, hit whatever RPE you need to hit, and then do your stronger arm at the same number of reps. So really try to squeeze your triceps with every single rep. And next for biceps, we have alternating bicep curls. I like to hold the dumbbell so it's more of a hammer curl. I do single arm because I swing my body way less when I do that, so I cheat less. I usually count like 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3 because doing 8 reps feels a lot less than doing 16 reps. So if I count all the way to 8, 8, it feels way less than counting all the way up to 16. So it's just a mental thing. By double counting each number or counting just one hand makes things easier. And I've tried both ways several times and it always is easier when I do 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, etc. And this was from another day, but for calves, which is one of the muscle groups I haven't hit yet, I like doing seated calf raises. I like the seated one better than the standing one because the standing puts more load on my spine, which I already have a lot of load on my spine when I do squats, so I don't need more fatigue on my spine. And for this exercise, and basically for every single exercise, you want to take things slow and steady, going slow on your eccentric. So on the way down, you go slow, pause at the bottom. On your way up, you don't have to go slow because it's the concentric, so you can go fast on the way up and then pause at the top as well. And that is it for exercises. As you probably could tell, I did not hit abs because I'm just always too lazy to do abs. But squats is a really good ab movement because you do really train your core a lot. I don't necessarily train abs, I train core. Like a lot of these compound movements are core exercises because holding that much weight, you have to have a stable core to keep you up. And a lot of people say that exercises like sit-ups or like leg raises don't necessarily translate to squat, bench, deadlift because in sit-ups you're actually bending your body to work out your abs, but in squats and deadlifts you don't want to bend your core area. You just want it to be stiff and like super tight, like a tree trunk. That's what I think of. So that's why sometimes people do planks. Also another thing, when you wear your belt, you actually get more core activation than not wearing a belt. Because number one, you can load more weight at the same RPE when you wear a belt. And second, squatting with a belt is different with squatting without a belt because when you're squatting without a belt, you have to brace down versus when you wear a belt, you brace outwards against the belt. So this is the belt and then you're like pushing against it to create that stability. So bracing is different with a belt or without a belt, but I'm not gonna go too in detail right now about that. But using a belt actually does work out your core more than not using a belt. And yeah, and at the end of any bodybuilding day, of course you gotta do some poses. So I'm really bad at posing, but still putting these in. So that's pretty much it for this week's video. Those are my favorite exercises for every muscle group. I hope you guys enjoyed. Follow me on Instagram if you want to stay updated with my lifts, because I post on there usually a week before here on YouTube. If you guys have any questions on anything, leave them down in the comments below and I will answer them. Like the video if you did, and subscribe and turn on the notification bell if you don't want to miss another video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.
My heart is filled with joy to be in your presence.